is watching your kid about to fail and having to let him. And you looked at me and then you went, and started crying. I'm like, wait a second. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, babies in their diapers, welcome to the Tiberius Show with your host, Tiberius Boy.
That's me, Tiberius.
And welcome to the Tiberius Show today. And I'm your host, Tiberius Boy. And as always, we're looking at various jobs and how they affect the world around us. Today's guest is going to be very interesting, and we're going to talk to, wait, this can't be right, a father? Do you have any idea what a father does? Well, I would hope so, because, everyone's got one. Wait, it's debatable, but let's talk to this guy. Let me introduce our next guest, the one, the only, the amazing Joseph Boy.
Hey, it's Joe Boy. Thanks for having me on the show, Tiberius.
No problem. Instead, thank you for being on the show. Okay, so you are this as a father, and in fact, you're my father. So, can you explain to my listeners exactly what do you do?
Well, way back with the birds and the bees. No, you don't want to go that far.
Oh.
A father is someone that cares and loves their child. So, most of the time, the father is one who created that child. But believe it or not, there are plenty of fathers out there that love and care for someone that they didn't create themselves. And they're still their father because they're there for that person.
So, did you always want to be a father?
Actually, yeah. I know it sounds weird, but when I was a kid, I didn't have a dad.
Ooh.
And I saw the other kids that did. And I knew I wanted to be a dad. I wanted to be there for a kid, and I wanted to show, this is what it is to help and teach someone to add to the world and to make the world a better place and to grow that child and make it awesome and amazing. I think I might have done okay.
Well, does it take any special skills to be a father?
Skills? This is like the one thing that doesn't come with an instruction manual, okay? And Tiberius, I work on all sorts of computers and all sorts of stuff, and I build all sorts of crazy things. They always got an instruction manual. Babies do not come with an instruction manual at all. So you get no training, no nothing. With that understanding, I actually spent a lot of time preparing to be a father. I wanted to be a dad so much. I researched on how to be a good dad. I researched different things to make kids be smarter, give them a leg up in the world. So I did a lot of things to try to make being a dad a good thing. And my hope is, I think I did halfway decent. I'm hoping so.
Well, how does being a father help the world be a better place?
Oh my goodness. That's a great question, Tiberius. The fact is, you make it the better place because you're giving the world a gift. You're giving them this creation, this child that you've taught for 18 years. You've trained. You've gotten ready. You teach them values. You teach them responsibility. You teach them the difference between right and wrong. You teach them how to be a productive person in society. You teach them to be a positive person, to want to be the best they can be. Teach them how to learn so they can provide for themselves. And teach them, more important, to have empathy and to help others. And help these surroundings. And that always will make the world a better place as long as, you're teaching them to be a good person versus, the next, Mussolini or something like that.
Well, what kind of stuff does a father do?
Oh, well, when you first start, you get the great pleasure of learning to change diapers. And I'll tell you right off, that's the very first thing and the last thing you want to do. Because smelling your kid's poo is not an enjoyable experience. I'll tell you that straight up. It is not fun to smell your kid's poo. But then you get to the fun stuff. You get to watch them grow. You get to teach them how to learn about things. You get to teach them object orientation. You get to teach them how to build with blocks and be creative and learn stuff. And you get to watch them get better. And that's all you want. You want your kid to be better than what you're doing. And to be able to see you grow and see you develop, even doing things I never thought I would ever get involved with. I mean, did you think I ever wanted to work on a podcast? Really? A podcast? Never thought I would want to do that. Now, not only do I produce your podcast, I'm doing a bunch of other ones.
It's true.
That's crazy.
Go to thirdsideconvo.com or search up Third Side Convo on YouTube and Facebook. That's a 3RD, by the way, not third. The word third.
Uh-huh.
And what's the best part about being a father?
Ooh. I used to come home from work, and you would just run up and put your arms around me and just hug me so tightly. And when you love someone unconditionally, when you love a child unconditionally, they don't care whether or not you had a bad day or a good. They just want to be with you and they want to hug you. And that, I think, is the best part of being a dad, is being able to see through their eyes that they're just so happy every possible way that they can see you and say hi and they love you no matter what.
Mm-hmm. Well, what do you think someone should do to prepare to be a father?
To prepare to be a father?
Mm-hmm.
Well, learn to have a lot of sleepless nights. Be ready for, when your kid says, I hate you and I don't care anymore. And that part's hard. Make sure that you set up your time so that you can give your kid your time. I think that is one of the best things you can do to prepare for fatherhood, is plan around that. I had to adjust my whole business because I didn't plan for that part of it. And I think that, to me, is important. You plan and make sure you have time for your kid.
Yeah. So, what's the hardest part about being a father?
Did you say hardest part?
Yeah.
The hardest part. Ooh. Okay. For all those who don't know, the hardest part, and this is really as deep as it gets, the hardest part is watching your kid about to fail and having to let him. Having to let your child fail when you know how to make it better. You've been through it all, but they have to learn for themselves. And you tell them stuff, and they're like, no, I want to do it my way. And having to sit there and watch them fail and then comfort them afterwards and say, oh, it's okay, when you know you could have prevented it. I think that's the hardest part, is just letting your child fail.
Mm. So, what is one thing you think kids should know about being a father?
Ooh. What should kids know about being a father? Well, if you have a fun dad, you want to make sure, well, I mean, it's not like you can just get another one. So you want to make sure you tell your dad what you want out of him. If you want him to play video games with you, ask him to play video games. Do you know how many kids never ask their dad to play video games? It is crazy. Crazy that there are kids out there that don't tell their dad, hey, I want you to play with me. Now, Tiberius was lucky enough, he said, and I'm like, well, then let's play. If you like board games, then tell him you want to play board games. If you like soccer, then say, hey, Dad, I want you to play soccer with me. But ask your parents to play and do things with you. That will wake them up and make them excited because it shows that you want to be with them and do stuff with them. And you just have to share what it is you do. Now, they may hate whatever it is you're doing. I'll tell you, there's plenty of times I really don't want to play some stupid Roblox obby game. Oh my gosh, the stupid obby games on Roblox. But Tiberius really wants to play I'm like, you know what? I want to spend my time with my kid. And I will go ahead and play a stupid game because it gets to be with them. And I get to learn more about my child every single day.
Now, here seems like a good time to take a quick commercial break. Let's hear a word from our sponsors.
So you want to make an ad for your company, right?
Yeah, Tiberius, you want to help me?
Okay, so what's the name of the company?
PPWND.
PP what?
Professional Pressure Washing and Detailing.
So you like clean driveways?
Yeah, like that. We pressure wash commercial buildings and semi-truck and trailers.
So how would someone get a hold of you?
They can visit my site at ppwnd.com or call me at 407-900-7793.
So I just tell them to call you at 407-900-7793 or visit ppwnd.com?
Yeah, Tiberius, you got it.
Cut! That's a wrap! Just use that!
Oak Ridge Gun Range is a family-oriented shooting range that has been in business for over 30 years. They specialize in basic firearm training and offer numerous services such as consignments, gun trades, gunsmithing, and concealed weapon classes. I even got my training for gun safety at Oak Ridge Gun Range. Great customer service, and firearm safety is what they do best. So find out more at oakridgegunrange.com.
And we're back here talking with Joe Boy. Joe Boy is my dad and a computer guy.
Yeah, I fix those darn computers.
Now, Dad, when did you know that you wanted to be a computer guy?
I loved computers. It was my escape from a very difficult childhood. And so I loved computers ever since I found out about them. I remember cutting grass for 2 years just to buy cassette tape so that I could record my video games on my old Commodore 64. So I knew I always wanted to do computers. And my mom had told me, Joe, you can't do computers because computers are a poor man's sport and you are a poor man. And I remember saying, but I don't want to be. I loved computers, and my brother got into computers, and I just thought it was such a wonderful thing. I was writing programs, and I just knew early on, this is my niche, this is where I wanted to be.
So, what's harder, writing code or fixing computers?
Writing code, for sure. I mean, let me tell you, Tiberius, when you've spent hours and hours and hours writing something, and there's just one thing wrong, you got to search everything to find it. Oh my goodness, it is such a pain. And realize the first bug was an actual physical bug that was in the computer. These days, you can have 1,000 lines of code and have to figure out what's wrong. And let me tell you, it's not that easy. I'll tell you. I tell you, fix people's computers. People have the same problems over and over again. They forget their password. They wreck their email. You know, you've been on with me a bunch of jobs. You know, a lot of them are the same things.
Yeah.
Replacing a printer. Those
New
we can do pretty easily.
monitors. Yeah. So, what's the most fun part about being a computer guy?
When you see a client that didn't know how to do something, and then you just make it happen. And all of a sudden, their eyes light up, and they're like, wow, I got it. Oh my gosh. Or when you get to a situation where they're like, oh, this is the end of the world. Everything's going to go. I'm losing my entire business. And you go, okay, well, just me press a couple buttons and here and there, and everything's back to normal. And you've seen it a number of times, Tiberius, when we get there and they're just so thankful. And I think that's something that you don't see in a lot of jobs, where people are thankful that you're there, you know. And I work really hard to make sure we offer a quality service, and we remotely take care of people's computers all over the world. But we also want to do it at a fair price and make sure to fix it as fast as possible so they're back to normal and they can do what they do for a living better. I mean, not everyone wants to be a computer guy, but everyone needs a computer. So we take their job and make their job easier by taking care of this and getting it over with.
Now, what is the most misunderstood part about me doing computer work?
Okay, you really want to know what the most misunderstood part is? That we know everything. That we are just miracle workers. We know it all. And everything's there. We have every answer under the sun. We have all this fancy equipment, so we know everything, right? And we don't. We have to look up stuff too. We might even use Google. Now, we know what questions to ask. We know how to search for stuff. We know how to make those quick thinking things and go through making sure to solve those problems well.
True.
And yes, you could go to Google yourself and try to figure it out. We know which items on Google are garbage. There's a lot of fake information on the internet, just like there is for politics or anything else. Well, the same thing in the computer world. People tell you how to format your drive when you're asking how to fix an email problem, just because they think it's funny that you messed your stuff up. So I think it's real important that, people understand we don't know it all, but we do know how to find it. We do have a group of people that we go to, our close friends or who are computer guys. If I don't know the answer, I'll find that answer from someone else, and we'll get the answer for you.
Okay. So, what's the hardest part about computer work?
The hardest part about computer work? Oh.
Yes.
That's a big one. I think the hardest part is you have to have everything up and running right up front.
Yep.
So if a client wants a computer, they don't want to wait 3 months. They don't want to wait 2 months. They don't want to wait a week for you to build it. They just want it ready in stock. And computers, well, they go out of date pretty quickly. I mean, in the car world, it takes 10 years for computers to seem old. The computer world's only 2 years. So keeping an inventory is a horrible idea because I don't want to sell someone something that's 6 months old. And so we try our darndest to make sure we only keep an inventory of stuff that's going out the shelf right away. And that's a pretty hard situation to do. And when you have a client that's angry and they're mad because they just don't understand something, especially someone who's brand new and they're meeting you and they're like, I want this fixed now. And I'm like, well, okay, that's not how we work. You don't scream and yell at us. You don't treat my staff like garbage. We do it with respect. We sometimes try to use humor to alleviate some of the pressure, but we're here to help and not to be yelled and screamed at. And so it's really hard when someone's yelling at you to still be respectful and try to solve their problem so that you can get to the point when they're calmed down and they're happy and it's all fixed. And now you can start trying to build a rapport with someone who's brand new who was angry 10 minutes ago.
Now, I know that you produce a few podcasts. Well, where do you get your ideas from?
Well, okay. Originally, the first podcast is yours. So that idea came from actually...
Me.
Well, when you were learning to read, you told me a number of years later that it was because when you were learning to read, I'd point to a sign and say, what does that sign say? And you say, Publix. And I would say, okay, so what do you do there? And you go, I get a free cookie.
I called it cookie.
Exactly. You get a cookie. So what does that one say? And you go, accounting. I said, what does that do? And he goes, I don't know. I said, go in and ask. And you would go in and ask people what they did, and they would tell you. And so that kind of laid the groundwork for the first podcast. Now, I do have some other podcasts, and one is about politics, and one is about reasonable ways to remove the obstacles that stand in the way of your happiness. So it just kind of depends. Everyone has their different style. I don't have my own podcast yet, but I do help people produce their podcasts. And so, yeah, I have a day job of being a computer guy, and I have a night job of being Director Joe Boy.
Well, where's the best place to listen to your podcasts?
Ooh. Well, most likely anywhere you go to see these podcasts. I mean, you've got the Tiberius Show. That's the first one, and you can go to Apple or Speaker and all those places to see that. Third Side Convo. That's 3RD Side Convo, and that one's the political one. And then Reason Speaks. And I have a bunch of other ones, but they're kind of small ones. They don't have a lot of stuff, and they're not always on time. But I work with a couple radio stations and help them with their podcast, so it just kind of depends. But yeah, that's the best way to get hold is pretty much anywhere you go to podcasts, just search in for those terms.
So, what's the craziest thing that's happened while you were doing your passion?
Craziest thing. When I was helping you with these questions, I guess I should have thought about them for myself. Craziest thing. I guess, you almost breaking a bunch of microphones. That was kind of crazy. And we ended up doing all this. Or crazy when we were doing production work and power kept going out, or the guy who was being chased by police while you were doing the podcast with him. That one was fun.
Or just me almost breaking my head open.
Yeah. Or crazy would be when someone made you cry on camera and we had to cut that out of the show. That was crazy. So yeah, those
We didn't even have a show for that one.
No, we didn't air that show.
Yeah, no, we didn't. So, who can you say was the person that helped drive your passion the most?
I should have reviewed these questions myself.
Not my fault.
That's a tough one because I learned a lot through a gentleman by the name of Brian Smith. Brian taught me to have more of a work-life balance, and I'm a workaholic, but I knew that I wanted to spend time with you and to use my time wisely. On top of all that, I think Wade West was someone who taught me a lot about business, and I learned a lot from him on different things you can do in business, and that you should really be responsible for your own income because no one else is going to do it for you.
Yeah. Can you share some advice for someone wanting to become a computer guy?
Ooh, okay, future computer guy. If you want to be a computer guy, do your math and learn logistics, learn how to think logically, learn English so you can understand what people are saying. Because, I don't want to learn English. Sorry, you got to be able to know what people are saying. If someone asks you a question, they're talking really fast, you want to make sure you understand what they're talking about. The other one is learn to have and make sure you have the client's best interest in heart. Having integrity is so much more important than knowing the computer stuff. You can know everything about computers. I can teach anyone about computers. I can't teach them to care. So if you care about other people, if you have empathy towards people who don't know anything, if you want to make a joke later on because they did something really dumb and you want to tell you that on the side and later on, go ahead and make a post about it later on how funny it was that someone was touching the screen instead of using the mouse. That's funny, and by all means, do it later. But right there when you're in front of that person, have empathy and realize they're not stupid. They're just ignorant of the fact. They don't know. And so you get to help them, guide them, and make sure they feel comfortable in accomplishing what tasks they want to complete. And I think that is the key. And if you want to be a computer guy, the knowledge is nice, but the most important thing is caring about the person you're working with.
Mm-hmm. So, what is the best advice you've ever received, and who gave you that advice?
Well, boy, gave me good advice. I think some of the best advice I received is to not worry about what other people think. And I didn't learn it till later in life. And the gentleman who taught me, he does a lot of motivational speaking and so forth. And I've been told it a couple times, but it took a while for me to get it. Is that what other people think don't matter. The high schoolers and the kids from elementary school don't matter. In fact, I didn't talk to them for another 20 years after I graduated. And you think, oh my God, I'm going to talk to them every 5 minutes. It doesn't matter. What other people think really doesn't matter. You got to focus on being productive. You got to focus on being a good person. You got to focus on the goals that you have for you and the people around you that actually show up and are being a positive influence in life to you. If there are negative people around you, you got to let them go.
Yeah. So, what message do you want to tell children all over the world about doing the work that you do?
Well, when it comes to being a father, it's the best job in the world. And if you want to have kids, have kids. It is such an amazing job. If you're going to be a dad, be a good dad. Be a present dad. Be there for your kid. Learn what they like, even if you hate it. If you think about that cool music you like now, and it's so cool and so amazing, trust me, your parents hate it. You're going to hate whatever your kids are listening to, but still what they like. So think about how you feel right this second, about how amazing the stuff that you like is. And realize, you know what? They're going to like it that level. And you have to understand that. And just be there for them. And just say, you know what? I want to be and enjoy this with you. Because you want to be there for your kid and teach them the best you can. Not everyone's perfect. But do the best that you can and be present.
Well, on that note, let's take a quick break to pay some bills.
Ooh.
The Tiberius Show would like to thank one of their dedicated sponsors, Custom Designs Orlando. These guys are on Mills Avenue and do all sorts of stuff, ranging from photo ID badges, engraved signs, custom braille ADA signs, vinyl lettering to trophies and awards. The cool part about Custom Designs is they can ship products all over the United States. You can reach them at 407-898-0373 and tell them that
Tiberius
sent you.
Over 40 years, Lighthouse Central Florida has provided education, independent life skills, and job training to thousands of Central Floridians who live with blindness or any degree of vision loss. Whether it's picking out clothes in the morning or just moving around your community and serving Orange, Seminole, and Osceola counties. Contact Lighthouse Central Florida at 407-898-2483 or visit them online at lighthousecfl.org.
And we're back with Joe Boy, computer guy, director, and, best of all, my dad. Okay, so, what was that one thing that happened in your career that you did not expect?
Ooh, I didn't expect COVID. I didn't expect to lose a whole bunch of clients because of death. Death is pretty permanent. When the clients are gone, they're gone. Didn't expect that.
I don't think anyone did, Dad.
I didn't expect... you know what? Being a father, I can tell you, I did not expect to be in a hospital room watching your child with electrodes all over their head, trying to make them pass out because we couldn't find why you were passing out randomly.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And that was so scary. And you know, so you never know. Again, you don't come with an instruction manual. You just got to figure it out. And you were just randomly passing out. And I was so scared. And, you know,
apparently
we eventually figured it out.
I was a child, I apparently didn't like my parents so much because I kept on holding my breath whenever I got mad at them, and that's why I kept on passing out.
Well, the story on that, Tiberius, just to let you know, the story on that is at the time I used to wear a shirt that said staff on the back.
Oh.
And we had to make you pass out, and they tried for hours. I mean, we're in the hospital for hours and hours and hours. So finally, I took your broccoli and I would hit you in the nose and say, "You want it? You want?" And I take it away, and then I'd hit your nose. And so there's a video of me, a guy with a staff on the back, poking you in the nose with the thing and pulling it away until you got so angry you fell over and landed, and you were mad and passed out. Well, the problem was they were trying to show how we solved the problem, so the video got passed around. Except for it looked like that it was an orderly that did it. And they were like, why would you let an orderly do that? And they thought that one of their employees was the one that was torturing this child to make him pass out. And so, yeah, they can't use that video anymore.
Kind of had a feeling. And, well, what have you learned about yourself that you wish that you knew earlier?
Oh, what did I learn about myself? Well, I doubted myself a lot. I doubted a lot about what I thought I could do. And I was so worried, would I be a good dad? Can I do a good job? I wanted to be the best dad I could be. And I thought I was going to fail at it. I think I did okay. But I was so worried. I thought everything was just going to fall apart and be a mess. And so I think that was a big one. If I had known everything was going to be fine and said, you know what, it's going to work out, and to focus on that, I think it would remove that anxiety, and things would have been a lot smoother.
Well, if you could go back in time and give your 12-year-old self advice, what would it be?
Buy stocks.
What
Take
type of stocks?
20% and buy stocks.
What type of stocks?
Tech stocks. Tech stocks. I mean,
Tech stocks?
buy tech stocks.
I would say at least put $1,000 in Bitcoin.
Well, no, Bitcoin wasn't around then. I'm saying thinking
you were
about
old? Oh.
thinking about tech stocks, thinking about Google, Microsoft. I mean, I would tell myself to invest in tech stocks, but I'd also tell them it's going to be okay. That, well, I give them that advice that I was given. You know, what other people say don't matter. You know, I can't really hold up a phone and say, look at the phone, and it won't say mean things to it because they didn't have phones back then. That far back that there was no cell phones or something like that.
Wow.
But if I could explain to myself that it doesn't matter what other people think, I think that would have made life considerably easier to focus on and attacking what it is I really wanted to do in life.
If you could give one piece of advice for all the kids listening, what would it be?
You don't have to have all the answers now, but whatever you're doing, be a positive force in the world. Don't be negative to other people. And when there are people that are bringing you down, when there are people that are bringing negative into your life, it's okay to cut them loose. You have to cut loose the negative people because you will become the average of the top 5 people that are around you. So surround yourself with people that are slightly better and slightly more knowledgeable than you, and you can learn from them. But if you surround yourself with people that bring negativity and bring you down, you'll become negative and you'll bring down. And you really want to be in a better part of the world.
Yeah. Well, what was the biggest mistake that you've ever made, and how did it change you as a person?
Oh, my goodness. Biggest mistake. I've made so many mistakes, Tiberius. Oh, my goodness. Biggest mistake. Well, I think that I made a lot of mistakes in my childhood because I thought I was supposed to stay home forever. I was in an environment that I was told I was supposed to stay home, marry a girl, bring her to the home, and live there forever. And so I made a lot of mistakes with that in mind. And when I first got out, I just got in a relationship with the first person that said they liked me. And I think I didn't learn to like me first and find out who I am. So I will tell people when they get out and all that, don't jump into relationships. Don't jump into trying to do stuff. Find out who you are. And do you even like who you are? And if you don't, you can change it. That's important. The one thing I think is so important to understand is in all my relationships that I've ever had, business, personal, whatever, in all my relationships I ever had, there is one common denominator in all of them. And that's me. So every single one that failed, it's my fault. Because I wasn't there. I wasn't knowledgeable enough to see that there was a problem. I wasn't skilled enough. And so the only thing you can do towards your next business or personal or whatever type of relationship is first make yourself better. Make yourself a positive influence on the world. Make yourself better. And guess what? Your chances on success is so much greater if you focus on yourself and not what other people do. I don't worry about what other people have or whatever people think they do, this, that, and the other. The only finish line is what you did last. So if you want to be, you want to be better than what you did, make you your competition so you can be better than what you did last time. Don't worry about what else someone else is doing because that'll make you feel bad. Only worry about what you do and make yourself better from you. And I think that's what I really learned.
So, when you're not working, what do you do for fun?
Ooh, good question. My fun is usually playing with you. My fun is trying to do fun things with you. I mean, I play video games. I play a lot of video games. And I watch some TV and all that. I try to look for efficiencies, things it can do that doesn't cost a lot of money and still be entertaining. But I think the best part is trying to do cool and new things with you. I mean, we've been taking you to board gaming and taking you to different events where it's a whole, 120 adults and then you and 3 other kids. And it's like, wow, you're nuts. Why would you take your kid there? Because he's learning all these fun things. So I think that's what I do for fun.
Mm-hmm. So, do you play video games? Which, obviously, we know.
I play lots of video games, Tiberius.
What's your favorite one?
Okay. If you really want to go favorite, I would probably say Total Annihilation was my favorite game because it was like a RTS, like an Age of Empires, but with thousands and thousands of units. Over 5,000 units it can handle at one time. So that was my favorite game of all times. My favorite genre of games is factory building. I love factory building. I love the efficiency of it. Factorio, Satisfactory, so many different style of factory building games. So I like those style of games, and I think those 2 genres, real-time strategy games and factory building, are the best for kids to play because they learn so much from them. A lot better than a shooter game that all you're learning is how to kill somebody. Some team-based ones are good, but my preference is factory building games.
Now, see, I like factory games, but I also like factory tower defense games. I've only played one of those. Haven't forgotten it. So, what's your favorite book to read?
Well, Tiberius, there's a lot of cool books out there. I know I've had a hard time with you reading books. You fight me all the time. I think you watched Ender's Game and you read that book. And you really liked that one. And I really wish you would get back into reading. I liked reading the classics. Charles Dickens, Tale of Two Cities, which we've done some work on. Great Expectations. All those are classics. And a lot of people don't appreciate those. You'll get a lot of them in high school because some of them will try to get you to do them in high school. But one of my favorites was one called The Red Badge of Courage. And it was about a young man who was growing into being a man. He was a kid learning about life, and he was in the military, and he was going to war for glory and honor, and realizing that the world will chew you up and spit you out. That the world doesn't regard life at all. There's 2 powerful people that were putting people to war, and people were dying left and right, and life was not important. And what was important is what you did, and your mark on the world. And in nature, the body decomposes and it's gone. And I think that was, it was a riveting experience. I learned a lot from it. It was scary to realize that they are out to get you. And I think that made a big deal in my life to restructure and realize that if you want to be a good man, be a good man. Don't do it because of other people. Do it for yourself. And it's not for glory and what other people think about you. It's what you do for yourself.
Okay. So, can you tell me that one story? You know, remember, this is a kid's show. But that one story, that you're not supposed to tell me about. Come on. You can tell me.
Well, I kind of already told you the story about you being poked with the broccoli and falling over. That was a good story.
Was.
I think that a lot of things in life happen for a reason. And here's one that you don't know, because you probably don't remember. One of your hospital's visits was you running out of a moving van.
Oh, that's right.
You were trying to run up and down the ramp of a moving van, and the ramp was gone, and you went running out of the van and went blank on your face on concrete. And you looked at me and you waited a couple seconds and you looked at me and then you went and started crying. I'm like, wait a second. He was fine for a good 15 to 20 seconds. But no, now he realizes this hurts. And you just ran out like it was nothing. And so, yeah, that was a pretty...
I guess there was a ramp there.
But, you know what? I got another one for you. If you want something embarrassing, about your old man?
Sure.
Okay. Here's something embarrassing. 7th grade.
Oh, God.
7th grade. Now, this is the old days, okay? In the old days, when you went to PE, you'd have to dress out and get onto the soccer field, okay? So I would turn around and I would want to get out there as fast as possible. And I didn't want to change in front of anybody, so I would take my shorts and I would put them over my underwear and then put my pants over that. So I could just take off my pants while I'm on the field and already be dressed out and not have to go change and all that. So I would do this all the time. And there was no problem with it. Until one day I forgot to put on my shorts. And so we're running out to the soccer field. And remember, in those days, we had shirts and skins. Shirts wore shirts, and skins would take off their shirt and just be bare chest. And so, yeah, shirts versus skins playing soccer. And they decide that I'm on the skins team. So I rip off my pants, rip off my shirt, I run out onto the field, and no one tells me. I am running around the field and cars are honking on the road and this and the other, and I am running out there in nothing but my underwear. And I am kicking goals and passing, and no one's telling me except for cars on the street honking over and over again. We're like, yeah, we're doing it. And that was extremely embarrassing.
Yeah.
I don't recommend running out in the field with just your underwear.
Don't get too ahead of yourself, Dad.
Though I think you did something similar, didn't you?
No?
In bowling, you did.
Oh, gosh. We don't need to get into that story, but is there anything else you think my listeners should know about you and what you do?
I can say that I hope people take from this that being a father is easy. You just, you have a kid. But being a good father should be the goal. And being there for your kid, showing up for your kid, being present, being there no matter what, even when it's hard, even when it's a stupid song that you don't want to dance to, just do it anyway. They'll remember that when they're older, and hopefully they'll do it for their kids. And I think that is the big thing, is just remember, I think something I've always said is, you can always make money later. I've had a lot of people tell me I'm so wrong for wasting my time doing a podcast with my kid and taking him to work, and I could make so much more money if I didn't spend all this time with your kid. But I got 18 years with you. And after that, if I've done a good job, you'll decide then whether or not you want to spend any more. And I think that's real important. I've told you the song, The Cat's in the Cradle, The Silver Spoon. It's so important that people miss being with their parents. They miss spending time with their kid. Work is so much more important. No, when anyone dies, no one says, I wish I worked more. They all spend more time with their family. And so I take it to heart, and I make sure to really concentrate on making sure I either go to work with you or I spend a lot of time with you. And I think that's so important that parents learn from that. And as a kid, if you're a kid listening and you're going to grow up, listen to that song and realize you're going to miss your parents one day. Spend time with them when you can. When they ask you for your time, give it to them. When you're busy, you may not get it back. They may get hit over by a truck or, I don't know, some other random thing. Well, maybe not. I mean, that would be a really odd way to look at things. Okay, they're not going to get run over by anything. Don't stop crying. Stop crying, kids. Don't cry. Okay. They just knew things might be going on in the world. But the fact is they're going to miss you. And when you're sitting there going, well, it's great to go play with your friends and all that, and that's great and new, but make sure to spend some time with your parents, because one day you're going to miss them. Even if they're sitting yawning on camera, you're still going to miss them.
But do you have a Facebook or website for most listeners to follow you?
Oh, do I?
Yeah, you do.
Do I have a Facebook?
Uh-huh.
Joseph Boy. Search for Joseph Boy. You find me. And then
Big old guy.
My computer company, Your Computer Solutions.
True.
If you need your computer repaired, if you have problems with your computer, I don't care where you are in the country. We work remotely. We charge you what, $35 a month? I think it is $35 a month, and we maintain your computer remotely.
In fact, didn't I make an ad for that?
You did. I bet it's going to air somewhere in here.
Ooh.
But you did, and we charge $35 a month. We maintain your computer remotely. When you have a problem, we try to fix it. We're very reasonable. We're there to help you. And
I might even come there sometimes.
Tiberius, do you remember the phone number? What's the phone number?
I don't remember.
Oh,
I know it's
that
407.
is such a fail.
Yeah.
It's 407-826-0810. Oh my gosh, I can't believe. What a fail.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tiberius is in fact human.
I am human. I'm not a robot, trust me. Can't fake this. But what's that one question that you think I forgot to ask you?
Do I want you to ask me any hard questions, huh?
You know what? That's your question. I'm joking.
I guess you didn't ask me why.
Well,
Why why should one want to be a father?
but why?
It's the greatest job in the world. And you get to give this gift to the world. You get to be in charge of trying to make the world a better place, not only by your actions before, but what you've taught this young man or woman, what you've taught them and prepared them for and guided them to. And that's the noblest job you could have, is to prepare them for this wonderful experience that's called life.
Okay. Well, thank you, Dad, for being my special guest. Can you stick around for Math Corners?
I guess I can show up for that.
Aw, Dad, my computer's slow again and I can't play my games.
Call Your Computer Solutions today, and we will scan for viruses and clean that computer up remotely and make it fast again. Our phone number is 407-826-0810.
Thanks, Dad. My computer's fast again. Now I can do my homework. Thanks for calling Your Computer Solutions at 407-826-0810.
Tiberius' favorite subject, it's Math Corners!
And thank you, Dad, for helping me with Math Corners. This week, we're going to do some more multi-step word problems, and my dad is always good at finding new problems for me to solve. Well, today, we're going to talk about time management.
Oh, yeah. You always need to work on that, kid.
Great. So, Mr. Johnson works every day from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. Each day, he spends an hour commuting to and from work combined. After work, he spends 2 hours with his children before they have to go to bed. On the weekends, he spends 4 hours a day with his children. How many more hours does Mr. Johnson spend working than spending time with his children?
Ooh, that's a goozy. Wait. No. I'm not supposed to answer that. No. That's definitely a Tiberius question.
No, I think this one's you.
No. Nice try. No, you're
This one's you, Dad. This one's you.
Do you really want me to tell them to cut? Come on, you got this, pal.
Okay. Well, first, this is a real-world problem because, well, every parent had to manage the time that they spent with their children versus how much time they spent earning the money to take care of them. So to solve this problem, we have to find out how much time does Mr. Johnson dedicate to work. So 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. is 9 hours, and you have the 1 hour combined, so that's 10 hours a day working. Now you times about 5 days a week, there's a total of 50 hours dedicated to work, and then you have to see how much time does he spend with his children. 2 times 5 hours, well, that's 10 hours. And on the weekends, he does 4 times a day, so 4 hours a day. So that's another 8 hours for a total of 18 hours. Now, to find the difference, you have to take the 50 hours and subtract 18 hours, and you find that it gives 32 hours more to his work than his children. So, Dad, do you have to budget how much time you spend with me versus going to work?
32 hours difference? Oh my gosh. That's every week?
Yeah.
Imagine times that by 52. For 52 weeks out of a year. I mean, think about that. Holy cow.
Then times that by 52.
Well, no, you times it by 18.
No, times it by
18
13 right now, but...
So, wow. I mean, that's more than double the time that he gives to work. And I'll tell you, I did have to do that. And when you were like 4 years old, I remember you hugging me, going, Dad. I'm like, I'm on the phone.
Oh.
And I looked at your face when I told you that, and the sign of rejection and the sign of hurtness that you had. And I knew that I had to change things. And at that point, I decided to completely redesign my company so I could spend as much time with you as possible. And I think most parents, if they work around the fact that the kids are really important and take them to work, which is how we found about your passion, spend as much time with you as you can, guess what? You'll be able to get more time. And that's more important, so much more important.
Mm-hmm. So, my teacher said that I would use math every day. How do you use math with your work?
Oh, Tiberius. Math is everywhere. It's everything. Everywhere you go, it's math. Are you walking? How fast are you walking? What trajectory are you going?
Quickly,
How much
up.
time are you going? Are you...
Yeah, 5 seconds.
Huh? 5 seconds? You're telling me I got to stop? I mean,
Giving you
everywhere.
answers. Giving you answers.
The time on to do
I'm
the
giving
broadcast.
you answers. Oh, well then 30 minutes, 40 minutes.
Everywhere you go, there's math. So the only thing a teacher lied to me about when it came to math is telling me that I wouldn't have a calculator everywhere I go. Because everyone's got a cell phone now, and there's a calculator on it. So that's the only part that they lied about. But math is everywhere. Everything has to do with math. In fact, if there was no language, math would be that universal language. Yes, Tiberius, we see your phone. Okay, you can put it down. Math is a universal language. If people don't know and can't talk to each other, they could still talk with measurements and understanding math. And that is such an amazing thing about this subject, and that's why I love it so much.
Well, thank you so much, Dad, for your help with Math Corners.
Oh, you're welcome.
And now it's time for the Heart of a Lion. As you know, we talk about the qualities of living by the Heart of a Lion, which stands for leadership, integrity, obedience, and nobility. This week, we're talking about nobility. For me, I think nobility is remembering we are God's special possessions and acting in a noble way, showing courage and honor. And the qualities of nobility are goodness, virtue, honor, generosity, and selflessness. Well, a few months ago, my dad and I were walking to the dollar store and to get a few snacks, and on the way there, he clears the path of the sidewalk. I would ask why, and he has to leave the place better than when you arrive to it. And it makes it easier for people on bikes to be on the sidewalk. Now, it's a noble idea of selflessness, and it sounded great, but a few weeks ago, there's a big storm that hit Orlando, and while after the storm, my dad went out to the street and cleared up what he could, and went to his office and cleared the debris from the roadways and parking areas so people could get to where they needed to go. When I asked why, you simply said it was not nobility, but instead leadership to show me how to act and use my time helping others when things go bad. So, Dad, of which of all of the Heart of Lion virtues, which is the one that you see the most?
Well, first off, I will tell you that, I think that's more leadership than nobility. Yeah, everyone thinks it's really noble that I clear the streets and all that kind of stuff so people can get to the roadway and emergency workers can get to older people. but it also means that I can drive and get to where I need to go. It means I can get to work, and I cleared the parking area and all that at work because I wanted to make sure that people could get there and get their needs covered. And also make sure that the guy who was going to fix the internet and the power company could get there easily without problems. So self-interest is in there. But I think leadership is it, because I'm trying to teach you that waiting around for other people to do things isn't the answer. If something needs to get done, Tiberius, you do it. No one's going to do it faster than you because you care and you need to do it. The choice to decide to care, that is the most important thing. So you go out and do it. Don't sit there and wait for someone else. Don't think about someone else. Don't say, oh, maybe one day it'll get fixed. If you want to fix, go fix it. If you want to do it, do it. You're not going to make it worse. Just go do it. And no one sits there. No one's just going to hand you things. But if you do it, people see you trying to do it, and they'll help you do it, and you'll get it completed. And I think that is the whole lesson. So it's really a leadership, but intriguing. As far as what I see the most, integrity. I think that's what I needed for most of my staff. That's why I think for anyone is making sure that they care about the client and they respect who that client is, and they have an interest in making them feel whole. So that takes integrity. I can teach them everything else, but they have to learn integrity from their family.
So we should always try to rely on strong in everything we do, shouldn't we?
I would say absolutely. I would agree with that because, I mean, goodness knows you made a large part of your show just about it because it is such an important message for everyone to have.
And that's our show, folks. I want to thank the one, the only, the amazing Joe Boy for being on my show. It has been so much fun talking to you today. I think we learned a lot about your career as a computer guy and your thoughts on fatherhood.
Well, thanks for having me, Tiberius. I know you weren't expecting to be interviewing your dad, but for those who don't know, this is Tiberius' studio. This is where he works out of. So everyone who wants to see that behind-the-scenes look, this is what he looks like. Oh my gosh, he's right there. So it's a whole fun to sit there and do this with him all the time. And why don't you get back to your chair and close out the show properly? But, I thought it might be nice to be able to people see what actually goes on and how it works, It helps people to know,
Yeah. And you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at The Tiberius Show. And I'm going to thank WWPR 1490 AM, K1998, Soul Radio 24/7, Easy Way TV, and all the other stations that air my show. Now, please visit The Tiberius Show on YouTube and hit that subscribe button. And, Dad, I'm sure you're subscribed, so I don't think we need to ask that question.
I am absolutely subscribed. In fact, ladies and gentlemen, let me do this. Let me tell you, you all should subscribe. Subscribe to Tiberius. Hit that like button. Hit the bell. Hit the Facebook. Hit the YouTube. Do all that subscribing stuff. Hit that subscribe. Watch go away. Make sure to do all that stuff because you know what? It helps Tiberius know. And make comments. Tell him how you like it, what you don't like. That's actually what it takes. It lets him know. It takes a tribe to let him know what goes on. So I guarantee you he would appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and be sure to what's next on The Tiberius Show with your host, Tiberius Boy.